I am from beyond. Listen, and all you desire will be yours. Welcome to Spider-Dan and the Secret Balls. Prepare for Prattle.
Unipod. Welcome to Prattle World. I'm your host, the ever-amazing, ever-spectacular Spider-Dan, and in this podcast, I spotlight entertainment's best-kept secrets that a mainstream audience may find boring. Hello guys, I'm back once again with another puny pod. This time I gave the Twitterati and the Facebook followers a chance to vote on my next subject between two Batman comics which I adore, including Batman Venom and Batman Prey, and by I think one vote swung the tide and swung the pendulum over to Batman Venom. This is not a crossover between the Marvel character and the DC character, though. No, this basically has Batman tackling steroid addiction. He gets addicted to the drug that Bane takes and fuels his, strength. So this is before Bane's introduction. It kind of leads up to it and introduces Santa Prisca as well, which is where Bane is from and where he grew up in a prison. So yeah, it's kind of it's sort of a part of Bane's sort of origin and background. Not only does Batman battle drug addiction, steroid addiction, he also punches a shark in the face. And what other Batman comic can you find that happening in? Not many. No, it's just this one. So let's start looking at the story itself. So Batman Venom, get my words out. Batman Venom was written by Denny O'Neil, the kind of classic Batman writer, kind of brought Batman back to his darker roots back in the late 70s after the campy 66 Batman with Adam West and the TV show had kind of faded and kind of lost its popularity and its, lost its luster, basically, and everyone kind of fell out with it. So he's well known for being kind of a Batman aficionado. He's one of the biggest kind of writers that Batman has ever had, and one of the best as well, in my humble opinion. He has also helped out in the art duties in this book by Trevor Von Eden and Russell Braun. I think Trevor Von Eden did the layouts, and I think Russell Braun did the finished art, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Really strong work, strong line work, great kind of shadowy depiction, and some great kind of disturbing images of Batman as well. And I think Denny O'Neil was a really good writer to kind of tackle this subject, because he personally has dealt with alcohol addiction. Being an alcoholic, a recovering alcoholic, I think he's well versed in those kind of feelings and where you go, and all the dark turns that an addiction can take. He even did Iron Man. He wrote a run on Iron Man, I think 2 or 3 year run on Iron Man, where he basically had Tony Stark go through his second bout with alcoholism, because he felt that the first time was kind of, the storyline was kind of rounded up a little too neatly, and obviously relapse is a big part of addiction, and that's what he did. And he had a kind of 3-year bender, and Jim James Rhodes took over, and he was Iron Man for a while, and then later became War Machine, as we know in the movies. Let's talk about the story a bit more before I go off on another tangent, knowing me. So first of all, opening page, we have this kind of construction worker type guy who's saying that this sewer system is collapsing, it's caving in, water is filling, it's too dangerous for anyone to go down there. And straight away, Batman goes, but there's a child down there, and that tells you all you need to know about Batman. He doesn't care the risk, he doesn't care, justice must be done. and he goes down there regardless, and he's not. This is kind of an early Batman tale, so it's set very early on, not long after Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli's Year One. So yeah, so he's not not got all the tech and all the gadgets and all the bells and whistles, or even all the backup in Robin or the rest of the Bat family. They're not there, so he goes down. He has to deal with this horrible situation. Basically, a little girl had been taken hostage by two criminals, and they're holding her to ransom. But they've kind of gotten away and left her down there to drown. So Batman is there, and this huge cave-in kind of happens, separates him from the little girl. Huge amount of kind of rubble and rocks and stuff, and he tries like clearing it and trying to get it out, throwing these rocks and straining and the water is slowly rising and rising to going up to her neck, her chin, and then he's almost there, and then he finds behind all the rubble there's this giant boulder that he just can't budge, and tragically the little girl drowns. She dies, which is a horrendous way to start a story, but it's basically the trigger for Batman to start going down this road, because he wasn't strong enough. He wasn't strong enough. He keeps saying that he could have saved her if only he was a bit strong. If only he had a little bit more strength, he could have moved it. He goes back to Alfred and he says, "I can't believe I failed." And Alfred's like, "Did you never think ever that you were going to fail?" I think this may be Batman's first failures. I'm not sure if that's in still canon, but as far as I know, this is his first big kind of failure with trying to save a human being, and it takes a toll, and it stays with him throughout this entire story, which is amazing story. So he goes after that, after Alfred has kind of consoled him a little bit, he goes off. He says that the night's not over. I have to go break the news to the father, and he gets there, and the father's kind of a bit nonchalant about it. He's kind of not that fussed. He seems to be a lot more interested in. He's a scientist, and we find out he's been developing a kind of through genetic research ways and means of improving human beings. Via what is now which is now known as Venom, the steroid Venom. And he's tempted. Batman looks at it, he's tempted, but he puts it away. He goes back to the cave, and he figured out that the rubble that he was trying to move was, I can't remember the exact weight, but he puts it on the barbells and he goes, "Right, I'm going to lift this," and he does lift it, but then he manages to kind of pull his shoulder. I think he sprains a muscle or something, or like maybe even tears a tendon. I'm not sure, but it's really noticeably like swollen and horrible. He can't really do anything with it for the rest of this issue. He's in a really bad state. And again, I think what's great about this story, like I said with the last one with 10 Nights of the Beast, is that it's a really human story, and it is about Batman's failings and his, and he's put through physically through the ringer, emotionally through the ringer, mentally through the ringer, you name it. And those are, for me, the best Batman tales. The more human Batman is, the more relatable he is, and sure, we want the Batman who can outsmart everybody, he's 10 steps ahead of everybody, and that's really entertaining to read, but, for an arc like this, story arc like this, that wouldn't work. It's better that he's better suited in that kind of played that way in team books like Justice League or Batman and the Outsiders, things like that. That's where he plays that role really well, but in his own book, he needs to have those human qualities. So, and he finds the two thugs that kidnapped the girl and led to her death, but he's injured because of his arm and has to let them go. He's thrown out of a window, in fact, because he's so injured, and Alfred kind of takes him back, and while he's recuperating, puts his arm in a sling and what have you. And we slowly see him kind of give in to that temptation, the one, that the steroid is the kind of the shortcut, and it's a horrible, evil shortcut to take, and but in this moment in the story, Batman's in a very vulnerable place. Bruce Wayne is beside himself with grief and just he's just broken. So he does go back to the girl's father, the scientist, and he takes him up on his offer to take the steroid, to take Venom, and it works. It helps him heal. He can lift that huge barbell he was struggling with. He goes after the two thugs that had harmed the little girl, ended up killing the little girl, inadvertently or advertently, you name it. And he literally like throws them through walls and smashes them into a million pieces, and he's really rough. And at the end of that first issue, we see something that's really quite disturbing. It's Batman just maniacally laughing. For no reason at all. The following issue, he's taken to just going out in a trench coat and nothing else, not wearing the bat suit, anything like that. And we can slowly see the kind of degradation of his, his mental well-being, and his, though he's physically he's the best he's ever been, like mentally he's very dark, twisted, quick to anger, all the kind of signs of addiction and there being a problem. These kind of come up, and Alfred is, he's kind of like, he even says in this, he says, I'm going to quit if you keep doing this. You're not even dressed up like Batman. You're not even studying. You're not even, using your fantastic, mind to solve these problems. You're just using brute strength, and it's not the man he knows. And it saddens him to say that. And even he says he's going to quit, and Batman's like, quit, I don't care. You're one of the scum sucking weaklings of Gotham, kind of thing. And he's like, well, people just let these things happen to them. Why should I do so much? But he's kind of still obsessed with getting these guys. And in the next scene, I think in that issue, that particular issue of this arc, we see Batman. He hunts them down, the two criminals that were responsible for this girl's death. He hunts them down. He finds them, only to find that they've been killed. And the killers are escaping very quickly in a car. And this is an absolutely ridiculous moment. He grabs a kind of one of those big style American fridge freezers, kind of Smeg fridge freezers, lifts it with it, over his head, throws it through the wall onto the car, which is, incredibly, reckless for Batman. He could have killed those guys and could have, for all we know, they could have been dead, and rightly so. They probably should be in real life. They definitely would be. But and while he's doing this, while he's lifting, while he's heaving this, you've never seen Batman look so huge. He's splitting the fabric on his suit is splitting because his biceps and all the other chest muscles his pectorals are all bulging with power. And the guy kind of he manages to get the guys, but then again they get shot before he can get any information out of them. So it's kind of a little bit of a mystery for him, and because he's taking these steroids, he's taking the venom. He's in a really like muddled place, like psychologically, he just doesn't know. He's so desperate. He goes back to the doctor and he's like, oh, I'm low on the venom, I don't have as much. And he's like, I need it. And he starts doing some shady business for this general who's involved with the scientist, the father of the girl, just to get it. And you can see him just so like out of it. All he's there for is that. All he needs is that fix, and it's really sad and quite kind of depressing to see this. And I think like some people might have a problem with the way he's easily manipulated in this story, but it's the vulnerability is the best thing about this story. It just shows that even the greatest of heroes, even the strongest of people, have their weak moments, and I think that's really important to show. And yeah, maybe some fans will be like, no, he's smarter. No, he would never do that. He would never just work for some guy. Because the villains of the piece ask him to. This is the real kind of crux of the story. I think the real kind of moment where he kind of. Not his rock bottom, I'd say, in the story, but definitely his kind of realization that something is not right, and the things that he's doing, considering the general and the doctor in the story ask it. They're like, we can give you more drugs, we can give you everything you need, because this is a highly addictive substance they've made, and they made it for that reason. So they say, we'll give you more, but you've got to kill Commissioner Gordon. And Batman goes, yeah, no problem, I can do that. And he's there lurking outside. Excuse me. He's lurking outside his home, his abode, and he's considering it up until the point where he jumps out and he goes, I've been hired to kill you. I won't do it, but I need you to know that people are after you. And he says in his monologue, he goes, I didn't know what decision I was going to make until I made it. Luckily, it was the right one. But he was totally unpredictable. He could have easily killed one of his best friends, his only friend at this time in the chronology of Batman. Next to Alfred, he doesn't have that many friends, really, true friends that help his kind of quest for justice. And that's what basically he goes home. He blocks all the entrances to the Batcave and tells Alfred to lock him in there for a month. He's going to go cold turkey on this stuff because it's just so dangerous, and he forces himself to be down there. He has enough supplies and everything to eat, but he has a very hard time of going cold turkey off this venom. It's highly addictive, and he. Like even Alfred's like, you sure you don't want me to let you out? Are you sure? Like he's listening on this intercom, trying to see if there's any sign of him or if he's okay down there. Because even Alfred can't get in there, and it's heartbreaking to see Alfred in such a state where all he wants to do is go down there and help him, but Bruce is constantly saying no. Alfred goes, it was a short month last month. You would be out already if it was that month. And he goes, no, we're going to do this full month. And he was like, and he's just said, I'm going to do the full month, and we've got to do it. And he finally does. He comes out and he's got this huge mane of hair, this massive beard. I was like, that's because some growth. I can grow a beard pretty damn quick, but I can't grow it that quick. I don't know what he's taking down there. It's maybe some hair growth supplements or something. While he's trying to get off the venom. But it's really. I mean, I guess it's the only way you could have done it. It just completely cut him off from any possibility of him hurting anyone or going crazy or being a danger to anyone. I think that's really it's really important, and he manages to do it, through hook or by crook. He manages to get off the venom, which is, the best thing for him. So after that, he kind of recuperates, gets his strength back, and then he goes after the doctor and the general who kind of hired him to kill Gordon or to convince him for the drugs for the venom. They've left the country. They've gone to Santa Prisca, which again is kind of linked to Bane's origin. But yeah, he kind of jumps on a chartered jet with Alfred, and he's like, "We're going to find them." And then the guys. So they've gone to Santa Prisca, basically to the two villains of I can't remember their names off the top, the general and the scientist, we'll call them. So they've gone to Santa Prisca to do more experiments, and they're experimenting. I can't speak today. I've been at work for 12 hours. It's been a hard shift, so I do have to apologise for not being with the words today or getting it round my mouth. La 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 la. Yeah, so I do apologise for that. But anyway, back to the story. Where was I? Yes, so they're experimenting and they're using the general's son as a guinea pig. They're giving him surgery. He's got various kind of implants, cybernetic, plastics, and taking the steroid as well. They basically turn him into an absolute monster. And also, he's under hypnotic suggestion as well, so he'll literally do anything they say, which is really interesting. He's a really tragic figure in the story, actually. And it kind of relates to, it's kind of nicely mirrored with the little girl from the start. He's much older. He's late teens, I think, but he's still very young and naive and does whatever his dad says, and that's what leads him to be a freak soldier, a zombie soldier. I think they're described. There's a few others around there, kind of doing that, but the general and the scientists see the chartered jet that Bruce and Alfred are on, and he just shoots a missile at it. It just takes his kind of Stinger rocket launcher and shoots them down, and Alfred's thrown out of the plane quite hilariously. There's a lot of humour. All the humour kind of comes from Alfred in this kind of story, and I think that there needs to be some levity in this story because it is so deep and dark and and just nasty and brutal. But that's the humanity coming through as you know we see Bruce triumph over the drug addiction. We see Alfred's support and it's gorgeous little bit of writing and these characters that are kind of grim and broody. That's a big part of Batman, sure, but I like it. I like it when we see the softer side of these characters, the more vulnerable side of all of them. So yeah, so they're shot out of the sky. They get separated. Alfred's kidnapped by the villains of the story, and he's kind of put on these kind of stocks, I guess, or these kind of two poles, and he's tied to them, and they're out to sea a little bit. And they've cut his ankles, and the sharks are coming. So this is probably my favourite bit in the story. One of my favourite bits, probably the most quintessentially fun bit of the tale. The most kind of outlandish bit of the tale, minus the crazy drugs and strength that Batman inhabits. It's a relatively low level, street level kind of story. But yeah, they nick and the sharks come in, and Batman's swimming out there to save him. And even then, Alfred's using it. He's got this sardonic humour. It's always so. He's got the wittiest repartee. Some of it in comics, I have to say. Very droll, very droll. That sort of kind of butler humour, I would call it. But yeah, so he tells Alfred to get swimming basically, and fights, kicks a shark in the face, punches a shark in the face. And he breaks one of his. This really cool moment where he breaks off one of the. He's even though he's not taking the Venom steroids, he's no slouch in the strength department anyway. He breaks one of these big totem poles and just stabs the shark to death with it, which is really cool. And there's these two kind of locals who are swimming. They're kind of watching. They can't wait to watch kind of the sharks eat them up. And they're flipped out of the boat by Batman and Alfred, and they take over the boat. And Batman goes, "Should have brought you shark repellent," which is kind of a reference to the 1966 Adam West Batman movie, where he has this shark hanging from the Bat helicopter. I think he's got the shark hanging off his leg, but luckily in his utility belt he stores his shark repellent. Bat shark repellent, or was it just shark repellent? I can't remember. But it's quite a nice little nod to that cheesier side of Batman. I think Denny O'Neil once said that Batman's kind of like Hamlet. You can play him in a multitude of ways, or write envision him in a multitude of ways. Like sometimes kind of a cheesier version of Batman the Brave and the Bold, or a 1966 Batman, or you can go the opposite way with the Dark Knight Returns style. I think there's a good medium, but I think there's room and ways to tell those stories. I like a happy-go-lucky Daredevil as much as I like a grim and dark, depressing Daredevil. Same with Spider-Man. I like an angry, dark Spider-Man, but I also like the wisecracking, web-slinging, wall-crawling, guy. I think I'm going to have to do a Spider-Man comic soon, because there's been a lack of Spider-Man-related media, considering the name of the show. So I will do that very, very soon. Where was I? Yeah, sharks. So yeah, punches some sharks. And then he kind of gets back on dry land, and Timmy's there. And Timmy is, a machine now, because he's just been experimented on so much. And he's kind of... Batman's kind of thrown by this, because he was like, there was this young boy he met, this kind of innocent young boy, and he's just been turned into a killing machine. Inhuman killing machine now. So Batman's captured after that, and he is then he's kind of put in this hole where it's kind of like it's filling up with water again, mirroring the beginning of the story. It's kind of a castle cylinder room. Basically, he has to pull a certain weight has to be pulled by this hook, so he can get out. So the door will open, and he'll be able to escape. But they leave the container, like a little jar of the drugs, a little jar of Venom with all the in there, and he goes, there's no way you're going to be able to pull that amount of that weight without using the steroids. And these steroids these ones I've created, the scientist says, are just way more addictive. There's no way you will beat the addiction if you take these. And Batman, he's struggling to. He figures out a way. It's quite ingenious. I won't spoil it. But he figures out a way out of the room, but twice he goes, "Oh, this would be so much easier if I just took the steroids, just one," or, and there's a point where he's like, if I this is my last chance. If I don't take them now, they won't take effect in time, and I won't be able to use them properly. But he sticks to his guns, and he stays strong and doesn't take them, but gets out anyway. And the scientist kind of like, no, how you there's no way you could have escaped the room without the steroids. You must have taken the steroids. And Batman just gets the jar of the kind of container or little vial or whatever it is, and he just pours all the pills in front of him, and is like, "I didn't use a single one. I beat you, and I beat you like a man. I didn't give in to the temptation to use those drugs." And it's a great little story. There's a cool little bit at the end, actually, where I always forget Alfred was like a trained actor, and he was like a spy, and all this other kind of cool, interesting stuff that they never really touch on too much. I don't know if they did that in Gotham a bit more, but he can actually imitate Batman's voice so well that it fools Commissioner Gordon, which is quite amazing, mimicry there. That's some real good. Alfred's great. I think Alfred's an amazing comic book, one of the best supporting comic book characters of all time. But there's cool little things where you kind of get reminded that actually Alfred is pretty darn cool. But yeah, that was it. That was Batman Venom, and guys, I couldn't recommend it enough. I haven't read it in years, good few years now, like 4 or 5 years probably, and it's still just as good as when I read it. It's still just as fun. Denny O'Neil's writing is great. He has a great hook on the character, great insight into the character, and gets all the relationships really well. And this probably the only issue with this story is it's not got the kind of any of the classic rogues gallery. They're very kind of mundane, kind of 90s bad guy, like a Jean-Claude Van Damme or a Steven Seagal would fight these kind of generic villains. But I still enjoyed them. I think Denny O'Neil still made them interesting to a point. But they're not as colourful or as outlandish as kind of the Scarecrow or Two-Face or the Joker. So it doesn't have that kind of crazy mental health element. But again, this is like Batman Begins. This is why I like it. It's a story about Batman. The story is about his struggle, his plight, dealing with his addiction. And, a lot of other Batman stories are purely about the villains, but this was about Batman. That's why I enjoyed it so much. If you're a big Batman fan, read it. If you're not a big Batman fan, read it and enjoy it anyway. It's a lot of fun. I think I'll probably be doing Batman Prey next. I think I'll probably do that next as my next puny pod, or I might even do a movie. Actually, I might do a movie, just a kind of quick movie for the next puny pod. But who knows? But yeah, and maybe some Spider-Man. I've got to do a Spider-Man comic, or someone's probably going to give me a slap if I don't do that. Where's all the Spider-Man content? Where? But yeah, so I'll do something like that. But it's been great rereading that. I reckon Prey will be just as fun to reread as well. I know that both tales are like set relatively early on in Batman's kind of history. A lot of writers seem to go there because I think they don't want to get kind of bogged down in the continuity or worrying about, they kind of want to keep it simple, straightforward, and I respect that. But I also like kind of the later the stuff in continuity, the later stuff with more of the Bat family and stuff. So yeah, I'll definitely look at something else soon. Pray first, I think, because that was the choice, and I'll have to do that. But there's other stuff to look at too. But yeah, so I think this weekend I'll be recording some more stuff. I think I'll be doing another Secret Defenders, so I'll be getting another guest in. I'll surprise you with that whenever I decide to upload that, or I might actually be recording two, if I can fit it in. So yeah, I think I'm relatively free this weekend, so I should be able to do it. But yeah, I'll space it out a bit. I won't just bang it all on at once. It's kind of, I like to the good things come to those who wait. Yeah, good things come to those who wait. But I'm not going to make you wait that long. Don't worry. I'm trying to keep up and kind of. I'm trying to do one every week if I can, at the very least. At least maybe a puny pod if I can fit the time in. But I'm really enjoying this. I'm glad you guys are listening. I've put my podcast on a few more podcast directories. So you should be able to find that. I think I posted that on Twitter today. So you should be able to find me on various different ones now, like Podchaser, podcast.com, Player FM, TuneIn, various other kind of apps and stuff. If you Google me, if you put me in the Google, if you Google me on Google, which people are known to do, all of my links are up there on the first page. That's all me. I don't know about other kind of search engines, but Google's the main one. Everyone Googles. That's the one. That's the one people use. That's the big one. So use that, and you can kind of find my Facebook and all the other various different podcasts. If there's another podcast app I'm on that I'm not aware of, please let me know, and I can maybe find a link and share with other people if they want to listen through that instead. But still on Spotify. You can find us on Spotify. On what else? What else are we on? We're on Spotify. We're on iTunes, obviously, Spreaker, Stitcher, so many others. It's been fun. So I'm glad I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoy my comic book diatribes on the Puny Pods. But if you want to find me online, you can find me on Facebook at Secret Boars. So if you type that into the search engine at Secret Boars, you'll come to my page. On Twitter, if you put in at Dan_Boars, you'll find me there. Make sure you use the hashtags join the Prattalion and hashtag prepare for Prattle. I still can't get my words out. What is wrong with me? 12-hour shifts, speaking all day, and now I can't even speak. But it's been a blast doing this again, guys. I will see you soon, my little boarmongers.